big problem with another tribe, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, which again was two famous tribes at the time, that they were attacking this village once in a while. And they were basically reaching a level of disparity, that okay, we cannot do anything about this. So when Dhul Qarnayn came, they heard a lot of good things about Dhul Qarnayn, said, okay, this is a brave man, he's a hero, he's a warrior. They went to him and said, okay, if you help us and basically protect us from Ya'juj and Ma'juj, we will give you anything that you want. This is the difference between a man of God. This is the one who has a true and right vision, and those who have wrong vision. Dhul Qarnayn didn't say, okay, I will do this for you. Helping people is important, but we have to learn how to help people. When we do charity even, again, we could learn many things. When we do charity, sometimes we could give money to someone and they spend it and finish. Sometimes we could find a way and be creative to give them a stable source of income. So Dhul Qarnayn didn't say, okay, I will do this good thing for you to protect you. He said, okay, I will help you, but أَعِنُونِي بِالْقُوَّةِ. You must support me with your strength. I don't want you to go sit down in a corner and hide in your rooms and in your houses. Come here, help me, then you with me together, we will build something, we will do something. They accepted, so he helped them to participate. He reminded them that they have courage and ability to overcome this obstacle. So he ordered and commanded to bring coppers and irons, and he built the dam between them, which protected them from Ya'juj and Ma'juj. But what was important about the story of Dhul Qarnayn is that Dhul Qarnayn was the one reminding them that if you believed in yourself and the ability that Allah give you, you will be able to overcome that obstacle. It's so important to remember. Overcoming obstacles are in different ways. It's not all the time success in a way that we assume. Obstacles in our path, how we can overcome them. So another story is the failure. So one is the success, and we know that with right mindset we cannot reach success if you work right. And Quran reminds us this, that whatever we put in your path, we already give you the ability to overcome it. Overcoming the problems, again, is not all the time the way we think. If you're sick, sometimes you see some people are sick and sometimes they cannot defeat the sickness. It doesn't mean that they fail. Again, there is a time that for every human being's life was set to expire. We don't know when is that. But when the sickness comes, our responsibility is to challenge it, to go over and do our best. Even we can live for a year longer, that's our job to do. That's what Imam Hussein did, by the way. There's a decision. Imam said, okay, do you let me to leave? He said, no. He said, do you let me go back to Medina? He said, no. Do you let me go to Kufa? No. Do you let me to go to another city? They said, no. So Imam is looking for a way to pass this obstacle. They said, no, you are here and you have to give allegiance to Yazid. And Imam said, no, this is something, that principle that I cannot go over. So what happened in the day of Ashura, Imam alayhi salam set a strategic system to attack Umar ibn Saad's army. If it wasn't because of that mindset, probably the battle was ended much earlier. But Imam alayhi salam did his best to take it as much as he could. If you look at the companions of Imam Musa alayhi salam, for example, we have about Habib ibn Madahir, that alone he killed 18 of them. That is not a man just there to accept the defeat. We have again in Maqatil that they did not accept the defeat. Majority of them, they were not able to defeat companions of Hussein one-to-one. They were forced to surround them and attack them unfairly from all sides. It shows the courage of companions of Hussein alayhi salam. The failure on the other side, again, Quran gives us the example. That the story of Musa alayhi salam, be aware of that as well. That when Musa alayhi salam saved Bani Israel from the river of Nile, when they passed, and again they saw just one of the greatest miracles, visual miracle. They just saw what happened to Fir'aun and his army. They were drowned in front of their own eyes, and they were saved. Allah said these people, when they continued their journey, they came upon a village, a city, that they were worshipping idols. فَأَتَوْا عَلَىٰ قَوْمٍ يَعْكُفُونَ عَلَىٰ أَصْنَامِهِمْ. They saw a village that people are bowing down in front of their idols, the statues. فَقَالُوا يَا مُوسَى اجْعَلْ لَنَا إِلَهًا كَمَا لَهُمْ آلِهَةٌ. After they saw all this great miracle and they saw their life being saved, they said, Musa, is it possible to give us a statue like this, that we can have one of these statues and idols and goddesses as well? قَالَ إِنَّكُمْ قَوْمٌ تَجْهَلُونَ. And Musa only response was, indeed, you're ignorant people. That you just saw the greatest miracle. You just see Allah's power. You just saw Allah's power. And now you want a statue to replace that power. This is the lack of courage. It's the lack of willpower. And if someone does not have willpower, no matter how many miracles you show, how many great signs they see, the first moment of weakness, they will give up. They will go back to the old tradition and wrong tradition. So in summary, what we learn from Imam Salam is courage. What we learn from Hazrat Zehra is courage. To do not give up. When the ways and what we want doesn't go the way we want it, we should be aware of not giving up. And remember the tradition of Imam Salam that having courage is essential for our accomplishment in dunya and akhirah. Both are essential. And at the same time, remembering that those who failed help us to understand that it doesn't matter how many lectures we listen to, doesn't matter how many majalis we participate, if we do not get affected by these lectures, by these majalis, if we do not feel that we actually become stronger, our willpower to become a better person did not get improved, we're at the same level. According to Imam alayhi salam, if someone's today and yesterday is the same, he is in loss. Man sawa yawmah fahuwa maghroom. So hopefully we are improving our iman, we are improving our faith, and at the same time we remember that courage is essential for our lives. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help all of us to learn from the message of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, to learn from the message of Hazrat Zainab sallallahu alayha, and the sacrifice of Imam alayhi salam, it gives us emotions, positive emotions, but also logical reasoning to be able to make our battles in our life. That every day we have this battle with our nafs, with the oppressor of the time, to be inspired from the message of Imam alayhi salam to apply to those occasions and situations as well, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اللهم كن وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.
Thank you so much, Maulana Modarres. We all get inspired by your speech at all times. So again, please read a loud salawat for Maulana Modarres. I have a couple of announcements, but before I do that, I would request all the men to please come forward at least 2 to 3 feet. Please come forward. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. You can all come forward, please. Thank you. Now, before I ask our next alim to give us a speech, I have a couple of comments that I'd like to make. I know that we've been reading Surah Fatiha for all the mu'mineens who have buried here, as well as all the mu'mineens around the world. But I would also request one more time for you to please read a Surah Fatiha for all the mu'mineen who are present here, the mutaliqeen who have passed away, as well as the people that are buried, especially Dr. Bakr Naqvi, because he was the originator of this cemetery. Bar Muhammad al Muhammad Salawat. And I would request you to read a Surah Fatiha for everyone. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد محمد على محمد صلوات. After our second speech, we'll have a small, brief sinazani here. Then, inshallah, we have a namaz after that. Then we have lunch available for all the people who are here. As well as tradition that we have, that we also have sinazani in the Qabristan as well. So we would like you all to come there as well as perform the sinazani as well. Now, without further ado, Maulana Sheikh Muhammad Ismail has been reciting Majlis or Majalises at Fatima Islamic Society for last 12-15 days, and he is doing an excellent job over there. And we all have, people if you have visited and participated in the Majlis, must have gotten a lot of wealth of information from him. So again, I would request him to please come to the member and please recite the Majlis for us and enlighten us with your knowledge. Bar Muhammad al Muhammad Salawat. Now, this is not a very loud salawat for Maulana. Please recite loud salawat. لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا حسين لبيك يا حسين لبيك
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وله الحمد في الآخرة وهو الحكيم الخبير والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث إلى كافة الورى بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته أئمة الهدى ومصابيح الدجى الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن يعظم شعائر الله فإنها من تقوى القلوب صلوا على محمد Elders, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. It's a pleasure to be with you all here at Bahisht-e-Zehra, where we have gathered to continue strengthening our allegiance to Sayyid al-Shuhada, Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, and to commemorate his great sacrifices and the sacrifices of his noble family members and companions. And of course, we have also gathered here today to pay our respects to those who are buried here and to pray for them, and also to remind ourselves about that final and ultimate journey that we will one day go on as well. So inshallah, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He blesses this gathering, He accepts the efforts of Dr. Ahsan and all those who have been involved in this program, and inshallah He enables us to get the most out of this blessing, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And indeed, my brothers and sisters, how blessed these gatherings are. For actually they are a sign of taqwa of the hearts. These are not my words. These are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hajj, verse number 32. That was the verse that I recited a few moments ago. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse says that وَمَن يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ, the one who venerates, the one who reveres, the one who gives great importance and respect to the sha'air of Allah, which we'll come to in a moment. For now we can translate it as the sacraments of Allah. فَإِنَّهَا مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ, that indeed that is a sign, that arises from the piety of the hearts. Now, what is sha'air of Allah? And how does it relate to these type of majalis? Well, sha'air is plural of sha'ira. Sha'ira means sign or a symbol. So what sha'air of Allah are those signs and symbols that lead someone to Allah. Now, do we have any examples in the Quran where Allah talks about the symbols, the sacraments, and the signs of His that lead one to Him? We do. We have, for example, the mention of Safa and Marwa, the two mountains. When we go to Hajj and we traverse between them, they are known as the sha'air of Allah. Inna Safa wal Marwa min sha'airillah. Indeed, Safa and Marwa are amongst the sacraments. They are amongst the symbols and signs that leads us towards Allah. So now, my brothers and sisters, if Safa and Marwa are regarded as being the signs and symbols that leads us towards Allah, then surely what do we say with regards to the prophets and the imams? If Safa and Marwa, these mountains, are symbols that lead us towards Allah, as Allah has said in His own book, then what about the commemoration of the sacrifices of Abu Abdullah? What about holding these type of majalis? What about mourning their great sacrifices for the sake of Islam? They are the greatest sha'air of Allah. They are the greatest symbols and signs that leads us to Allah because they show a piety of our hearts. When we establish these type of majalis, it is a sign of our expression for the Ahlul Bayt, our love for them. It is a sign that we are increasing our allegiance to them. And it is a sign of us wanting to continue in their legacy. So my brothers and sisters, these type of gatherings and these type of commemorative meetings where we all come together, especially in Muharram, in Safar and the other holy occasions during the year, they are indeed the greatest signs and the sha'air which we must always continue to uphold and to inshallah increase day by day. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I'd like to mention just a few things before the Masa'ib and then finally we will break. First of all, the question often arises that actually, wasn't it the Bani Umayyads who were victorious? When we say that Imam Hussein sacrificed and he saved Islam and he achieved so much, but we see that actually the Bani Umayyads were more successful. They were the ones who were victorious. Why? For example, they say that the Bani Umayyads, they're the ones who killed Imam Hussein. They then took captive his family members and children. Then they also sent out a very stern message to the whole community that don't you dare stand up against us. If you try to do anything against us, this is the type of thing that we can do. So now, on the one hand, when we look at it like that, it looks almost as if the Bani Umayyads were the one who won in Karbala. This is something especially for my younger brothers and sisters to really appreciate. However, this is looking at it at a very superficial level. When we look at it on a deeper level, we see exactly who was the winner. I would like to just illustrate this with regards to this incident that takes place when our fourth holy Imam, Imam al-Sajjad, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, returns to Medina from Karbala. after he had seen all those tragedies, and now he's back in Medina. Somebody by the name of Ibrahim ibn Talha wants to rub salt in the wounds. One of the worst things that anyone can do after they have experienced a tragedy, some type of loss, some difficulty, somebody comes and tries to rub salt in the wounds to make it worse. So what he does is, he comes up to the Imam and he asks him this question. He says, Man ghalab? Who was victorious? So we know what he meant. He meant that actually your father was killed, your family members were taken captive, and the Bani Umayyads, look what they've done, look what they've achieved. Look at the response of Imam al-Sajjad. This tells us who indeed was victorious. He says to him, if you want to know who was victorious, wait until the time of prayers. Wait until the time of prayers. فَأَذِّنْ ثُمَّ أَقِمْ. That means then recite the adhan and then the iqamah. What is the Imam trying to get at? He's trying to get at the fact that Yazid and his people, they were set on trying to destroy Salah. They were set on trying to obliterate Islam completely. But the fact that every Muslim, every practicing Muslim, even in the center of Yazid's government in Sham, when it comes to the time of prayer, they will all have to recite adhan and iqamah. And they will all have to recite the shahadatain. They will all have to testify, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And therefore, it is clear who won. Because if the Umayyads had won, then there wouldn't be any adhan, there wouldn't be any iqamah, there wouldn't be any namaz. But the fact that they all have to testify to the shahadatain tells us exactly who won. As our respected Sheikh was saying, that indeed it was Imam Hussein who we can say revived Islam. You might have heard of this statement from Rasul al-A'zam Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, where he says, Husaynun minni wa ana min Husayn. What does this mean? I mentioned it briefly on that day in the Julus, but just to expand a bit more today when we have a little bit more time. What that means is, yes, Hussein is from me and I am from Hussein. That's the basic translation of it. But what is the meaning of this? The deeper meaning? In particular, the first part is easier to understand than the second part. The first part, yes, Imam Hussein was the son of the daughter of the Holy Prophet. So, clearly, from one perspective, he was from the Holy Prophet. Hussein is from me, he's from my progeny. That's easier to understand. What about the second part though? And I am from Hussein. How do we understand that part of the statement? Well, one of the meanings relates to exactly what Maulana was saying. That Imam Hussein revived that religion that Rasulullah brought. Imam Hussein continued that mission of the Holy Prophet. And Imam Hussein, he kept alive that message of the Holy Prophet. So when he says, and I am from Hussein, it means that that revelation that was sent to me, that new message, that religion of Islam that I brought, it would not have survived, it would not have continued unless it was for the sacrifices of Abu Abdullah. So truly Imam Hussein is from the Holy Prophet, and the Holy Prophet is from him because of the continuation of his great mission. Indeed, sometimes we hear this statement. It's a beautiful summary about this whole discussion. That Al-Islam Muhammadiyul Wujud wa Husayniyul Baqa. Islam, yes, it started with the Holy Prophet Muhammad, but its continuance and its survival was due to Imam Hussein. So, my brothers and sisters, this is how we can look at it in a deeper way to understand who was victorious, what were the implications of his sacrifice, and exactly how far his legacy has remained. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So now, with the limited time that we have, I would like to just put forward 4 practical lessons that Imam Hussein teaches us with regards to preparing ourselves for death. Bearing in mind the place where we are at, and afterwards when we visit the graves, then inshallah this will be something which will be appropriate for us now to discuss. And in particular because we are in the month of mourning. What does Imam Hussein alayhi salam teach us about preparing ourselves for death? He teaches us at least 4 very important lessons. The first important lesson is to write a will. Writing a will is highly recommended. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he showed us right from the start of his movement, when he's about to leave Medina, what does he do? He writes a will to his half-brother, Muhammad ibn Hanafiyyah. And in that will, he states that famous statement why he is leaving. And he says that I am leaving in order to establish reform. لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمَّةِ جَدِّي. In order to establish, to implement and to seek reform in the community and in the ummah of my grandfather. Then he says to do Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi anil Munkar, and to traverse the path of my father and my grandfather. But the key point here being, when he leaves Medina, he makes sure he writes a will. This is something that we can all do as well when we are preparing for death. In fact, it is highly recommended to do it in any case, not necessarily right at the end of our time. So, in this will, what we are told to do is to write not just the financial aspects of leaving things behind to our inheritors and so on and so forth, but also the dues, right? The rights that are on our shoulders, which I'll come to later on. Those rights that we have not yet discharged. We should write them down. Any other wishes, even that 1/3 of our estate that we are allowed to give in whichever way we like. How do we want that 1/3 of our estate to be spent after we have left this world? We should write all those things down. And indeed, my brothers and sisters, it is recommended, if you have a look at the Risala, one of the rulings is that it is recommended that when somebody is healthy, not right at the end of the time, when somebody is healthy, they should